Dystopia warning, obviously, just take the dystopia warning as perpetually implied, because we're living in hell. I just want to take a moment to talk about this time of year, really, and how hard it is actually for some people. Made all the harder by this government. I mean, not only is it perpetually gloomy and you have to put on a lamp at 3 PM because apparently we're living in a Scandi noir crime thriller, but also we've got a government that, if they're not succeeding in killing us by, you know, just letting a virus run rampant, then they're trying to do us in via, you know, freezing us to death in our own home, austerity, not looking after our most vulnerable in society to the point where they can barely afford to eat and starve and die. But then there's also the aspect of Christmas, isn't there? I need to talk to you frankly about Christmas. The old adage is true, anything that's bad is worse at Christmas. Apparently now Christmas starts on November the 1st. Your pumpkin rotting on your doorstep hasn't even been cleared away and boom! The adverts, the relentless adverts. Let's take a little look at what the adverts depict in this current climate in Britain, shall we? They're sparkling, everyone's happy, everyone's cheerful, there's massive buffets, everyone's got a glass of champagne in their hand and every single family gets on perfectly. Now that's not reality, is it? And what that does is it makes a lot of people feel extremely inadequate on many different levels. You might not have a perfect relationship with your family. You might be grieving. You might be going through cancer treatment. You might be worrying about how you're going to actually buy your kids presents because the government deliberately tanked the economy, meaning that you can barely afford your mortgage repayments. There might be the fact that you're going to have to try and get your Christmas dinner from a food bank because you can't make ends meet, and on top of that the government are deciding to make anyone that dares to have to need to use benefits feel like a useless, scummy, failing scrounger, which couldn't be further from the truth, actually. The hustlers that call themselves elected members of parliament, they're the scroungers, they're the con men. And any shame that you're feeling is misplaced if you have to use a food bank because they're responsible. It's their jobs to ensure that you should never have to use a food bank. It's their jobs to ensure that if you're working, that you shouldn't even need to use universal credit. It's their job to ensure that we have an adequate welfare state for those that can't work or those that are disabled. They're the ones that have failed you and failed Britain. And let's get on to the whole family aspect, shall we? Not everyone has a perfect family. Not everyone has a lovely, lavish country pile to return to for Christmas. People might be grieving relatives, especially in the last couple of years after COVID, because, you know, the government willfully let hundreds of thousands of people die. Those adverts never focus on the person that's having to, you know, visit their sick relative in a care home. Those adverts never focus on the NHS worker that's working in our hospitals at the moment that are operating like field hospitals because they've been underfunded and run into the ground by this government. Nobody talks about, you know, those nurses working in those hospitals that also have to use food banks because the government have wasted £100 billion of our money, which could have easily covered the pay rise that they more than deserve. Meanwhile, all those MPs will be feasting on Waitrose this Christmas, knocking back Moe, whilst we're left in the fucking gutter to suffer the consequences of their disastrous decisions because they've decided to have a go at running the country and fucked it. And all they've got left now is just racist rhetoric, hoping that enough people will gobble it up so they can retain power they don't deserve. Fuck toxic positivity. If you don't find this time of year easy, I hear you. I do not either. But also, lots of other people don't. This time of year can be catastrophic for people's mental health. And the best possible weapon that mental health issues like depression have against you is isolating you and making you feel like you're the only one feeling like this. You're not the only one feeling like this if you're finding this time of year difficult. For some people, Christmas is a time of year simply to just try and survive and get through. Probably now more people are feeling this way than ever because of financial issues, you know, tearing families apart, because of money worries, you know, making people wonder how they're going to feed their kids at Christmas, how they're going to buy stocking fillers. We are all in the shit, but we're all in the shit together. So if you're not having a great time, don't feel like you have to shut up about it, because real life isn't what's depicted in adverts that are designed just to sell you things. If you're one of those people that are just muddling through, you're not on your own in it. This time of year can be really fucking shit. At least someone has to say it, you know? It's not about being a Scrooge or making a point of not liking Christmas. I would really like to be able to love Christmas, but I don't have that perfect situation. Lots of other people don't. It's about facing the objective reality of a situation. It's about acknowledging that this can make people feel inadequate. It can make people feel like it's a personal failing when it's not. We are fed unattainable images of unattainable situations, and that's not real. We currently have a government that has cut vital suicide prevention services, that is trying to force people back into work that are sick, when they're doing absolutely nothing to deal with the fact that we have a mental health crisis and absolutely no mental health services. We don't have a functioning mental health service in this country at all. Some entire counties only have one NHS psychiatrist. So talking about your situation with a friend, calling the Samaritans, admitting that it's fucking shit sometimes, that's something that could save a life, you know? If you're grieving, if you're unwell, if you're struggling this Christmas, you're not on your own. Loads of us are. We just need to talk about it more.